नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्ठिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 10, chapter entitled Deliverance of the Jamala Arjuna Trees, text number 5. Yadrichaya cha devarshir bhagavams tatra kaurava apaschyan narado devau shivano samabudhyata. Yadrichaya cha devarshi bhagavams tatra kaurava apashyan narado devo kshibano samabudhyata. Yadrichaya cha devarshi bhagavams tatra kaurava apashyan narado devo shivano samabudhyata. Yadrichaya cha devarshir bhagavams tatra kaurava apashyan narado devo shivano samabudhyata. Mataji's. samabadhata yadrichaya, by chance, while wandering all over the universe. Cha, and Deva Rishihi, the supreme saintly person among the demigods. Bhagavan, the most powerful. Tatra, there, where the two sons of Kuvera were enjoying life. Kaurava, O Maharaj Parikshit, Apashyat, when he saw Naradaha, the great saint, Devau, the two boys of the demigods, Shivano, with eyes maddened by intoxication, Samabudhyata, he could understand their position. Translation: O Maharaj Parikshit, by some auspicious opportunity for the two boys, the great saint Devarshi Narada once appeared there by chance. Seeing them intoxicated with rolling eyes, he could understand their situation. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. It is said, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastra Koy, Lav Matra Sadhu Sange Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Chaitanya Charitamrit Madhya 22.54. Wherever Narada Muni goes, any moment at which he appears is understood to be extremely auspicious. It is also said, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Bij. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. Chaitanya Charitamrit, Madhya 19.151. Narada appeared in the garden to give the two sons of Kuvera the seed of devotional service, even though they were intoxicated. Saintly persons know how to bestow mercy upon the fallen souls. Om Ajnanatimirandhas Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Yadrichayasha cha devarshir bhagavams tatra kaurava. So today Sukdev Goswami is informing Maharaj Parikshit that how once upon a time the saint among the demigods, Narada Muni, approached the heavenly planets and happened to be in the area where the two sons of Kuver were having some water pastimes. Before I continue, could anyone tell me the names of the sons of Kuver who are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Everyone agrees? Is it Nal Kuver and Mani Grieve? Recently I was listening to a lecture by one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, and he said that unfortunately for all of us, we need to be corrected. The sons of Kuvera are Nal Kuvara and Mani Grieve. And I went through all the purports where actually the names are given, and it is Kuvara and not Kuvera. It is not Nal Kuvera, it is Nal Kuvara. And that is how we read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Doesn't make much difference, it is just some details to attention. I mean, if anyone would call me anything else other than Rohini Priya Das, I would be concerned. So time in and out, if in our temples we say Nal Kuvera, he is going to be a bit concerned. It is K-U-V-A-R-A. N-A-L-A-K-U-V-A-R-A. Nala Kuvara. So the two sons of Kuvera, Nala Kuvara and Mani Griva, whose beautiful, wonderful throat was just like a jewel, a gem. Can we imagine someone so beautiful? No wonder they were having such wonderful games in the Mandakini. And it requires some qualification. These are beautiful personalities. Srila Prabhupada, at least in the translation, it is mentioned, and also in the word-to-word meaning, by chance. Most of our friends in the scientific world would love this word being mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. By chance. I mean, so you devotees also given to chance. So here, by chance is the closest translation to Yadrichaya. Ichha signifies a motive. It does not mean chance. So here, perchance or by chance means by his own independent desire, Narada Muni decided to go down that path. What was his reason? He himself knows as the independent, saintly personality. So it isn't just by luck things happen in the life of Narada Muni. By luck, things happen in the life of Nala Kuvara and Mani Grieve. But saintly personalities like Narad Muni always have a purpose in life, just as the followers of Narad Muni, like your great selves, also have a purpose in life, or should have a purpose in life. We cannot let things happen by chance. It has to be yadrichaya. We may not know what the outcome may be. Maybe no one else can ascertain as to what the outcome or the result of our actions is at that particular moment. But every action of us and every thought of us should be by independent choice. That is what differentiates living entity from dead matter. Making choices. Therefore here, by chance means of his own independent desire, which he himself knew, he went along that very pathway which went past or besides the pond in the Ganges, where these personalities were having a nice time. Another point here is, sometimes words in the scriptures have to be taken in context. If I mention this to anyone, Yadrichaya Sadeva Rishir Bhagavams Tatra Kaurava, would this mean anything? Let us for some time, let us try and erase all the memory that we have of whatever knowledge of the scriptures we have received for some time. Just try to do that. Let us go into that situation. And now all we know is some historical names like Pandavas, Kauravas, Hastinapur, Mahabharat. Before we became introduced to ISKCON. Before I was introduced to ISKCON, I did not even know there was someone known as Parikshit. Not really. So if someone would tell me Bhagavam's Tatra Kaurava, I would say it is Duryodhan or Dushashan. But the context is different. Because Kaurava is not the stamped property of just Duryodhan and Dushashan. Even Dhritarashtra is a Kaurava. Even the Pandavas are Kauravas in that sense because they are the descendants of Kuru. So unless and until we have a spiritual master, we have some guidance, we have the acharyas and we have parampara, who is going to point out here that Kaurava means Parikshit and not anyone else? So yes, without guidance, things are not possible, things are not revealed. So anyways, this is just some points from the verse. Alright, that which interested me very much is, again, how many of us here are already aware of this pastime? We have heard it quite often. Gauranga Prabhu has spoken of it many times. Anyone else? Anyone here who has not heard of this pastime? Because let us suppose we have just entered this pastime for the first time, we are hearing it for the first time, and we have no inclination of reading books as soon as we have our hands on the books, As a young boy, as a student, the love of my life would be, especially when school, the first day of the new school year would be opening a week before that. There was this wonderful time when along with the parents, especially my father, would go into the marketplace to buy books, the new school year books. And the main interest for me was when I could get my hands onto something that is called in Maharashtra as the Bala Bharati or the Yuva Bharati, that textbook. It was a book on English literature, the English language. And second in line would be the Hindi version of it, for the Hindi language. And it would take me an entire day from morning to evening to finish off the book. I could not stay without reading the book. And then would come the books of history. But the books that would be down the line would be mathematics. I wouldn't open it till the teacher would tell me to open it up. And specifically geography. Could never understand that. But every year this would be there. So let us suppose that all of you are Rohini Priya Das in his previous days. All of us. And this is the textbook of geography. And today we have reached the point where Narad Muni just comes to the place where they are having their party. And Srila Prabhupada says, wherever Narad Muni goes, any moment at which he appears is understood to be extremely auspicious. Now if you have sufficiently erased your hard drive, tell me what springs to mind when you hear the word a saintly person and auspicious. Two pastimes. Shrutakirti Prabhu, he writes in his memoirs of Srila Prabhupada, 1976, month of July, traveling in a train to Nellore. Shrutakirti Prabhu, Harikesh Prabhu, and Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj accompanying Srila Prabhupada. In the 1970s, there would be the first class cabin coach in Indian Railways. This was a separate cabin and it had a door which you could lock from inside. Privacy. So Srila Prabhupada was traveling with his three servants. There are 4 berths. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj very carefully opens the door and very stealthily he sneaks out. Like really just opening the door as much as required for his body to get out. And immediately shuts the door. So Prabhupada is resting. And then after some time, Tamal Krishna Maharaj enters the same way, just opens the door and squeezes him like that. So Harikesh Prabhu and Shrutakirti Prabhu are looking at him as to what's wrong. He says, there are 3 young men outside just waiting to trouble Prabhupada. So this is an Indian train, Indian people outside. Well, these devotees had experience with many of the members of the Indian community. They would come to Prabhupada and say, Ashirwad Baba, please give us some Ashirwad. Srila Prabhupada called this Babas as Ashirwad Baba. There are some who are eager to give Ashirwad. And there are many who are eager to receive Ashirwad or blessings. So very auspicious. So they are literally waiting to, be in the presence of Prabhupada. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj very staunch, very grave. So they're a little bit afraid too. Then Harikesh Prabhu and Shrutakirti Prabhu also need to go out. So they also open the door the same way and sneak out. But while coming in, somehow or the other, one of these or 2 of them or all 3 of them, they managed to look into the compartment, hoping to catch Srila Prabhupada's eye, because they know in India, once there is eye-to-eye contact, well, the culture is you have to accept the presence of the other person. So there was eye-to-eye contact and Prabhupada said, let them come in. Babaji, Swamiji, thank you so much. Prabhupada did with the formalities, who are you, what is your name, where are you from, where are you traveling? And then they came to the point. Please give us some blessing. Prabhupada asked them, what blessing? Now for them this was very strange. No Baba ever asks what blessing. So they were shocked. Then one of them suddenly, it was like facing a very difficult ball, and then he recovers and takes his guard again. So he says, Swamiji, I have this pain in my knee. And the devotees just groaned and this boy also felt foolish. He said, and also some blessings for my family's members. And then he said, and also we want that good should happen to everyone. Prabhupada looked at them and said, you look at these 3 boys, and he pointed to the 3 devotees. All of them were shaven-headed in saffron cloth except Shrutakirti Prabhu. He said, this is my blessing. They have given up everything and they're simply chanting Hare Krishna. Do you want this blessing? Immediately the boys got up and said, Swamiji, we have many duties to perform. So please we'll meet you at some other time. And they immediately left. Very interesting. Wherever Narad Muni goes, any moment at which he appears is understood to be extremely auspicious. Srila Radhanath Maharaj in one lecture entitled The Power of Blessings, he mentions a similar pastime of Srila Prabhupada. He says, once Srila Prabhupada is traveling in a train, and this gentleman came up to Srila Prabhupada and he just kept on following Prabhupada. Wherever Prabhupada would go, he would follow him, come back. Literally at his feet, like a shadow. Please give me some blessing. And Radhanath Maharaj says, Prabhupada turned to him and said, I bless you that your material life is finished. And he says, Swamiji, not this blessing, not this blessing. Please, he started crying, not this blessing. And Radhanath Maharaj says, that potentially in this material world everything can be a blessing. On the other hand, if we are not fortunate enough to understand what is a blessing and reciprocate with it, then that blessing can turn into a curse. And then he says, so many times we've asked for blessings in our life thinking that this is the best in our life, and we have found out that afterwards it is actually a curse for us. Like the King Midas, anything I touch become gold. So everything he touches becomes gold. He touches the glass, it becomes gold. He drinks the water, it turns into gold. Now he's suffering. Blessing becomes a curse. So, if we understand what auspiciousness means according to the viewpoint of Shastra, Guru and Sadhu, then the next verse will not seem so very dramatic. Because Narad Muni is just introduced in this verse as Devarshi, the best amongst the saintly demigods, or the saint amongst the demigods. And the next verse, or a couple of verses down actually, he curses them. Now curse like that. There's no indication as to what is a time reference here, but most probably it is in an age much before Krishna appeared. I mean, billions of years before Krishna appeared. He cursed them. You be trees. They begged for forgiveness. He says, don't worry. You will be trees in the courtyard of Nanda Baba. Oh my God. Billions of years just standing as trees. But the culmination is to see the beautiful pastimes of Krishna in the courtyard of Nanda Baba. Till Dwapar Yuga there is no surety. It is now when we look in retrospect, we very easily say, actually that curse is a blessing. When Srila Prabhupada says, there's deep significance in it. But when we say, we hardly understand the significance of it. Because the moment we face a situation where a curse like this is given to us, we are immediately disturbed. Are Baba, why me? I mean, for such a small thing, they made such a big event out of it. What did I do? But very easily, we can speak that actually a curse like this stand as trees for eons of years. One day, when Krishna appears, we will be able to see his beautiful pastimes. Some relevant points regarding this. Whenever a devotee is involved in any transaction, the working formula of that entire transaction is very different from the regular way it works. For example, in this case, Narad Muni is going to curse. In another, Srimad Bhagavatam, there are few places where a few of these rishis have been very free with their curses, it seems, Someone meets someone, they do not like the transaction, they say, I curse you. So somebody becomes an elephant, somebody becomes a crocodile, somebody becomes a tree, somebody is cursed to die in 7 days. Just imagine in today's yuga, if I and you, the way we curse people, bhaad mein ja tu. Go to hell. I mean, just imagine a curse like that if it turns out to be true. Wow. Right now, go to hell. The way we are so free, because we know our character, we know our integrity, we know where we stand, and therefore we know these words, they are worse than the termite eaten wood. At least from externally that wood stands and appears to be a strong wooden log. But when we look into ourselves, we find that externally also we have nothing to show off. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya hi upatrita. So there's nothing in Kali Yuga to be proud of. There's everything in Kali Yuga to be felt ashamed of, to feel ashamed of. Despite that, Kali Yuga is an age where everyone feels there's no one better than me in this world. There has never been anyone better than me in this world. I am a gift to this world. God's gift to mankind. But whenever a devotee is involved in any transaction like this occurs, the curse of a devotee is in all cases always a benediction, the very reason being that within the very core of their heart, the devotee is a suhrit or a well-wisher of all living entities. And that is not true for all of us, for all the living entities. It is only true for devotees. Because the devotees essentially within the very core of their hearts, they are the well-wishers. Well-wishers does not mean they wish that everybody falls into a well. Andhakupa. Well-wishers means someone who wishes well, good for others, happiness for others. How can anyone like me understand what a well-wisher is? Only a devotee is a real well-wisher. And therefore, any action of a devotee, including a curse of a devotee on another personality, is a benediction because of the nature of being well-wishers. You see, to curse or to benedict someone, one needs to have some potency. Like someone comes to us and says, after some time in Krishna consciousness, because we have nice looking tilak on and our dress also looks good enough, Maharaj, Prabhuji, please bless us, let everything go well in our life. And sometimes say, theek ho jayega, sab theek ho jayega. Everything will happen good in your life, don't worry. I mean, do we have the potency to even say that? And no wonder after 2 days a person says, kuch fayda nahi hua, nothing happened. You said sab acha hoga, sab bura ho gaya. You said everything will be good and nothing good happened. Definitely nothing good will happen. And anything good that happens is because by chance, our wish and Krishna's wish, despite our lack of knowledge, somehow or the other they paralleled. Somehow or the other they were congruent. And hence, after 2 or 3 attempts like this, sab theek ho gaya, we start believing we are God men, you know. We don't have the potency, but in the ages of the past, it was not difficult to find people who could give Brahma Danda or the proper punishment for someone who had trespassed. Brahma Danda was a word spoken by a very qualified person which would never fail. Therefore, we find the Srimad Bhagavatam full of so many examples of Brahma Dandas. Those words did not fail. In one purport in the 7th canto, Srila Prabhupada writes, there are instances where devotees or where personalities like Narada, Devala, Agastya have cursed people. It's as if, who came to your function and we say, oh, Gauranga Prabhu came, Govinda Prabhu. Narada Muni, they curse. Then the next line is, however, the curse is always a benediction. So, potency is necessary for curses or benedictions to work. Now, this is also a razor's edge. To become potent in this material world is not difficult. One needs to follow certain rituals, one needs to do certain sacrifices, one gathers some potency. Like, just last year, Gauranga Prabhu was mentioning to me, just I was trying my hand at making some sambar. And he came up to me and said, Rohini Priya, do you know that 25 different types of sambar? Is it? It's 25 different. And I was wondering, my God, this devotee has so much potency. Those 25 different kinds of sambar along with the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. So one can become potent in this world. Unfortunately, becoming potent need not mean that we are the well-wishers of everyone. And that is a great danger. Having potency and not having the core quality of being a well-wisher or a suhrit. So here we find personalities like Devarshi Narada, Devarshi Devala and Maharshi Agastya. These are well-wishers of living entities, and therefore their potent words are always a benediction. Another interesting aspect is that if one is a devotee and seemingly it seems that one curses someone because one is a well-wisher, the curse is actually a benediction. Similarly, even if someone is not a devotee and a well-wisher of ours, but we are practicing devotees. Even if someone is a non-devotee but we are practicing devotees, if they curse us because if they have some potency, if they curse us, they being non-devotees, they being not being well-wishers, they may curse us, but because we are devotees, their curse will always be a benediction for us. Very interesting point. The young son of Shammika decided 7 days, out. Parikshit. You know, you're going to be dead. And Parikshit says, this is what is Krishna's desire. It turned out to be a benediction. How did it turn out to be a benediction? Let us see. What all did Parikshit receive? 1. He was fortunate enough to receive a notice of when death is going to come. Wow. Now, not everyone will feel happy with that, but it would be nice to have some notice, you know. Sometimes people ask this question, if we only knew what karma we had done in the previous life for which we are going to suffer, we would be careful now. Okay. What about the karma that we are doing now which we already know and we are not careful? What about that? If we cannot manage that this lifetime, how can we manage the karma of 10 previous lifetimes? But we feel like that. So Parikshit, he had this benediction. He looked at it as a benediction. Secondly, where can we find sages like Narada, Vyas, Maitreya and the entire, entourage of sages coming and sitting down just to encourage us to go back home, back to Godhead, to leave this body? Parikshit Maharaj received that benediction. Thirdly, Parikshit was very much entrenched into taking care of the kingdom of his great-grandfather. And there was no way he was wondering, how is it? How can I become free from this? But he could not give up the directions of his great Purvajas, his great ancestors. The curse allowed him to immediately say, this is Krishna's will, I am leaving. Fourthly, Parikshit got the opportunity to hear from the so-called, or let us say, hear the virgin words, never before spoken by Shukdev Goswami ever. The first time ever Shukdev Goswami is speaking to Parikshit. In that sense, original Shukdev Maharaj's words, Parikshit Maharaj got to hear. Shukdev Maharaj had been assimilating it all, and that assimilation and realization came for the first time in front of Parikshit Maharaj. Fifth, Parikshit Maharaj got the opportunity to perfect his life in the process of Shravanam, such that till today he is taken as the topmost example of someone who has perfected the process of Shravanam. These are all benedictions for him. But most interestingly and importantly, Parikshit Maharaj, through this incidence, he saw the unfurling of the Srimad Bhagavatam in such a format that thence onwards, people for all time to come, all living entities would benefit. So, benefit for himself and Loka Kalyan also. So even if the person in front of us is not really a well-wisher, but if one is a devotee, then the curse actually is a benediction for the devotee. Well, words sound good, especially big sounding words sound exceptionally attractive. But if someone would say, "Sir," and address me, "Sir, did you ever have your feet in these shoes?" And then we understand these shoes are not cool shoes, they are hot. It's not easy to see setbacks in life. Ah, Krishna, benediction. Because the mind immediately reacts by saying, "Why me, Krishna? Are you actually there, Krishna? Are you just?" Days on, it is going to trouble us, our consciousness. This is not fair. There are so many others who are doing the same thing. They are not getting the reaction. Why only me? So, what is it that makes a devotee who especially understands, accepts Krishna as the one and only focus in one's life? What is the quality that makes the devotee see Krishna's benevolent hand in every aspect of one's life? The nature of a devotee is to be beyond the modes, beyond dualities. How? This chakshu, once one has surrendered to the process of Krishna consciousness, these eyes are transformed into eyes of knowledge. And the eyes of knowledge allow the devotee to see, oh, this is rain, this is cold, this is wind, this is hot, this is honor, this is dishonor, this is auspicious, this is inauspicious, this is benediction, this is a curse. All of these agamo apainah anityaha. They are going to come and they are going to go of their own accord. And therefore, a devotee simply as a bystander observes actions and reactions happening in his or her life. And if one does not get the eyes of knowledge to see that, then benedictions will be the only way, the only path that we would want to follow. That doesn't happen in the material world. The material world is a place of duality, positive and negative. And therefore, eyes of knowledge allow the devotees to see things coming and going. Couple of years back, some of us devotees, we were in Rishikesh because of some event regarding our temple. And there was a great saint of Rishikesh of the previous century, Tantwala Baba. Tantwala Baba had many followers. We met one of his followers. And during the discussion, they mentioned that one of the workings of Tantwala Baba was that he would ask his disciples to spend some time just sitting and meditating, doing nothing else. Meditating does not mean internal meditation. He said just meditating on how things are happening in life. Sitting the entire day and seeing what is coming and what is not coming. A small example, what food is coming during the day and what food is not coming. Sometimes days would pass when no food would come, and sometimes days would be there when some variety of food would come. And this, he said, he was training his disciples in seeing the eyes that how karma is coming or karma is not coming. The day when one particular variety of food would come, this is the karma coming. And when it would not come and one is feeling hungry, karma is not coming. And thus, in either, when food, one of the practices that they developed to this was, even when food was there, they would not be disturbed by it. Physiology, medical science teaches us that as soon as food is in front of any living entity like you and me, especially human beings, there is a physiological process that immediately sets in. And that physiological process is salivation immediately starts. However, when one has the eyes of vision, one gains control over the physiological processes also. There's no salivation, there's no feeling of hunger. The presence of food does not disturb one. One may eat it or one may not eat it, and the absence of food does not disturb one. One may hanker for it or one may not. So, this samatulya is a very essential quality that allows devotees to see that how everything is simply a benevolent action of Krishna. Whether it is according to our desire in gains or it is against our wishes in losses. Okay, few very rapid examples. One I already gave, Parikshit Maharaj. He saw it. He accepted it as a benediction. Let me give you another example from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Two cursed people came together. One was cursed to be an elephant, the other was cursed to be a crocodile, both met. Similarities between the incidents today and that incidents, both are in the pond of water. The main hero, the main actor is enjoying with his co-actresses. Here Narad Muni comes, there the crocodile. The Graha comes, catches him. 1,000 celestial years, the crocodile is becoming stronger, the elephant is becoming weak. But because the elephant, Bhagavatam explains, has been a devotee, a Vaishnava in the previous life, a king of the Pandya Desh, who gave up his kingdom because of his desire to meditate completely on Lord Vishnu and worship him, went into the Malaya Parvats and did meditation. Therefore, one effect of that was remembrance of the mantras necessary to worship Lord Vishnu was carried in the next life in the body of an elephant. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, elephants are huge, they have a big body, they are very strong, they eat a lot too, but their intelligence is very small. Prabhupada says it is not commensurate with their intelligence. So from King Indradumna he became an elephant, cursed by the sage Agastya. Parallels between Parikshit and this case. Parikshit entered, saw Samik Rishi in meditation, became disturbed, put a snake around his neck, went away. Agastya Muni with his followers came. Indradumna Maharaj in ecstasy was in meditation. You are not welcoming me, a Brahmana properly. You are dull, you are unintelligent. Therefore you fall down into darkness and become an elephant. Parikshit Maharaj goes back. The son comes, Shringi, sends a curse behind him. Parikshit accepts it. Here Indradumna Maharaj realizes Agastya Muni has cursed me. He accepts it and says, this is the will of Krishna. Yes. And Prabhupada there he quotes the verse Tattenu Kampam Su Samikshamano. And very interesting point Srila Prabhupada makes. He says a devotee sees everything as a result of his past reactions. And I could never understand the gravity of this statement till a few days ago when I was listening to a lecture. How does a devotee see? I mean, this is a very small event. I am in meditation. मेरी गलती क्या है? What is my mistake? The sage curses me, makes me an elephant of all things. And we are really wondering, how does this work, These sages are supposed to be so very self-tolerant, and suddenly they curse elephant. People like you and me, we can curse like that, hathi banja. For us it doesn't matter. But at least these people should realize, isn't it? So, Indradumna Maharaj was thinking, in my life I have done so many mistakes and made so many trespasses. But somehow or the other, for some of them, I was not punished. For some of them, my punishment was very minuscule. At that time, I did not complain. I did not feel. All I felt was, bach gaya is baar. This time I am saved. And now, for a small event, when I get a reaction like this, it seems to be big, it is simply because all those sum total of reactions are coming. That is how a devotee sees. All the reactions that I did not get for the mistakes that I have done, those all are coming through the via media of this mistake. And therefore a devotee feels, Tatte Anukampa. This is simply Krishna's Anukampa. This is simply Krishna's benediction. Srila Prabhupada writes, Agastya Muni felt it wise to curse him. And then he says, because his curse was a benediction. One lifetime of an elephant. And Prabhupada says, beautiful statement, after the expiry of the life of elephant, after the expiry date, he went back to Vaikuntha Loka along with Lord Vishnu, seated on Garuda with a form as Lord Vishnu's. Garuda Express. Everyone else got Vaikuntha Viman, but Indradumna Maharaj, after being, saved. And what was the reason, he says? The crocodile at least was dead. His life was finished. Lord Vishnu chopped off his head. But he simply touched Gajendra. When he touched Gajendra, the Gajendra did not go, heart attack, and he died. He just transformed into a beautiful Swarupa form of the Lord. Just transformed. The touch of the Lord freed him from all the contaminations. And the other statement Prabhupada is, one lifetime of the elephant and all of his previous contaminations were all gone. In just one life of an elephant. And he attained Sarupya Mukti. He attained Vaikuntha Loka with the same form as Lord Vishnu's. On the other hand, the crocodile got the form of a Gandharva only, King Huhu. Another curse, and the last curse, is of Yamaraj. Mandukya Muni, somehow or the other, some robbers came into his ashram. He was taken along with the robbers, punished along with them, about to be pierced with a lance. Suddenly they realized they made a mistake, freed him. Why this happened to me? He did not go to the king. The king was the person who punished him. He did not go to the king. He did not go to the police courts. He went directly to the court of Yamaraj. Can you imagine? I would be very scared of going to Yamaraj's court, because I've heard anyone who goes there never comes back. At least not in the same body. But here is Mandukya Muni so furious, so much concerned about this. He goes to the court of Yamaraj and says, why did this happen to me? And Yamaraj says, actually when you were a small child, you pierced an ant with a piece of straw and therefore this. He said, what? A small mistake like this and such a big reaction. You do not know how to give proper reactions. I curse you to become a Shudra. So Mahajana to a Shudra. Now Yamaraj could also have retaliated. What? For a small mistake like this, you make me a Shudra? But Yamaraj says, thank you very much. Since a long time, I was so much involved with management. this is a benediction for me to go and preach. And what preaching he did? He preached to Dhritarashtra, he preached to the Pandavas, he preached to the Kauravas, and how strongly he preached. And then one day, Duryodhana said, what nonsense, you're simply a Dasi Putra, you're not even amongst us, amongst our class. Go back to your residence, your territory. Ja, Dasi Putra. Get lost from here. And no one supported him. Now this was like another curse, not a qualified person, but still Vidura took it as, I'm saved from this scene also. I wanted to go on a pilgrimage. So situation of double curse. But he took it as a benediction. What a benediction! Because when he reached Prabhas and he heard from Uddhava, Krishna remembered you as he was leaving. There were tears in Vidura's eyes. If he had remained in Hastinapur, how could he have ever heard that? Because Uddhava was not taking a detour to Hastinapur while going through Badrinath. So what a benediction. So we can see this, that these are some instances of curses. So always auspicious here means that these great sages, one moment of the association can create great auspicious in our lives. From our point of view, that auspiciousness could be, from the material viewpoint, a curse or a benediction. But either is auspicious for us. Pain is going to be there in such situations when we are insulted, when we lose someone dear, when there's loss of property or money. Pain is going to be there. Just as when it is cold, taking bath with cold water is painful to the skin. But we still do it because it is purifying. Why do we do it? How is it purifying? This is the last food for thought that I would want to leave all of us with. Because of the austerity involved. The austerity involved in dealing with situations of reversals, wherein we can see it as Krishna's hand, allows us to transcend the material realm of happiness and distress and dualities and see how Krishna is taking care of us personally. It is very difficult for us to see Krishna in happiness. We can remember how merciful he is externally, but we do not practically connect with him. It is so very difficult to see Krishna in distress because there is strong rebellious attitude in that situation. But there's such an opportune moment to see Krishna personally handling our affairs. And when we make that austerity in our lives, then we feel ecstasy. We feel a personal reciprocation with Krishna. Austerity does not mean that yesterday I was not comfortable with this physical and mental situation. Today I have become comfortable with it. That may or may not be austerity per se. Austerity means because of the situation which was comfortable or uncomfortable, especially because of the situation which was uncomfortable, we accessed a potential of being neutral and depending on Krishna. And that dependency of Krishna gives pleasure to the soul. Austerity is the means to get the ecstasy of being touched by Krishna. Austerity per se is not the pleasure in the practice of spiritual life. At the same time, austerity is that which we become attached to when we see how practicing an austere process allows us to feel the touch of Krishna. So knowing that this is how we can feel the presence of Krishna, we take up to the process of tolerating this material world, happiness and distress, And by such tolerance, when done in the right mood and attitude, knowing that Krishna is the well-wisher of all living entities. Devotees, saintly devotees are the well-wisher of all living entities, including us. When we tolerate these situations in the right attitude, depending on Krishna, feeling a connection with Krishna, serving Krishna, then we feel the pleasure of Krishna's presence. So that pleasure is what is inspiring. And the austerity that is attached with that pleasure becomes a very wonderful tool in the practice of Krishna consciousness. For it is these austerities that actually test the mettle of a devotee. When things go according to our desires, we are not sure whether it is Krishna's desire or our desire. But when things go against our desire, then we are sure that actually it was just our desire. It wasn't Krishna's desire. So such tests, they reveal our character to us. And occasionally and very fortunately, such tests allow us to develop the proper character too. We will see how Nalakuvar and Manigriv are going to develop rock solid character in Krishna consciousness. And they will be benedicted by Krishna in the future. Yes? So, inauspicious material world, no hope. Only hope is Saeva sadhushu krito moksha dwaram. Somehow or the other get attached to the saintly devotees of the Lord. Complete attachment. Everything becomes auspicious. And then even the reverses in our life, they allow us to see Krishna's presence. How? By undergoing the austerity of tolerating such situations. Not just I have to tolerate, but by increasing a dependency and a love and service unto the Lord and His devotees. That attitude of love and service is very important. Srila Prabhupada in one lecture he mentioned this. Arjuna was disturbed when Abhimanyu was killed, but that did not stop his service because he saw Krishna's hand in it. He went up to Yudhishthira and says, what did you do? How did you allow? He told Bhimasen, in your presence, how could this happen? He never questioned Krishna. Why did this happen to me, Krishna? So, character is what makes up a devotee, and such tests allow us to develop good characters too. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.